Good morning, YouTube. I hope you're doing well. It's been a little bit of time since I jumped on and did a vlog style video. Today, we are 10 weeks out. Not 10 weeks out, Jesus Christ, I can't do anymore. We are 10 days out from the end of a diet. As you can tell, tired, brain frog. Brain frog? Jesus Christ. What I want to do today is, I don't know, sort of go through a day and document what sort of life is like when you're so close to the end of a diet. We are fairly lean, not super shredded, fairly lean. You'll see in the not so distant future what the result of the diet is. But I thought I'd just go through day in the life, hopefully give you some tips and tricks when it comes to dieting and how, yeah, I'm tired, I'm hungry. I manage things around that because it does make it a little bit more difficult when you are dieting to, it's a positive in some ways because generally you're more focused, you're more switched on, but there is a little bit more effort involved in getting things done. It does get more difficult. Your general energy is down. You can be a little bit irritable. People find that this is a time where they feel a little bit more stressed out because naturally, if you are getting leaner, your body is a little bit stressed. So things can get quite a lot and it is tricky. And it's sort of at this point that I see a lot of people really messing up, not because they don't have the motivation or the discipline to, just because it gets a little bit tough. And you need to know what to expect, right? Because when you've never done it before and you get to this point and you feel some of these things, you might think, oh, I need a little bit more food, or you might be really worried that your muscles wasting away or whatever it might be. Anyway, we're gonna go through it. And if you're not already, please do consider subscribing to the channel because what this is gonna document over sort of the next year is the road to my first show. I did say I was gonna compete this year. Life just isn't in the right place for me to do that just yet. Next year, we are gonna be competing, we're gonna be stepping on stage, and I basically wanna document that entire process from the end of the diet from this year, all the way through the growing season, all the way through bulk off season. If I don't wanna call it off season because I haven't competed yet, I don't wanna be one of those pretentious types, right? My off season, we're gonna document the growth, and then going into next year, I'm gonna document the entire prep process. As a guy that I coach some clients, I'm an online coach, but I also have a normal job as well. So it's gonna be my process for managing all of those things, and hopefully I can share some of the things that have been helping me. We might learn a couple things, jobs are good in. But first, food. We're gonna get some food in. So I guess what you're also gonna get in this is a little bit of a day of eating. What does it look like when you're eating, trying to get lean? What does a day of eating look like? What are the meals, what are the food? Let's give you a little show. So meal one for me is an omelette which I prepare, right, first thing in the morning. It is actually a late morning today, right? Monday is check-ins primarily, right, with the team, and then it's also the editing day. So it is a day that I do have, I suppose to an extent, a little bit of flexibility, right? As long as I've checked in with the clients today, and I've given enough time to do that properly, and as long as I get the, if not all of it, most of the editing done for the week, that is priority number 2, because one of the first bits of advice I will give you is, and then this goes for any point in training, but especially when you are dieting, right? Being organized, being, I would say, ahead of your week, right? Because what a lot of people do is they say, I'm gonna train 4 days a week, right? Just to use training as an example. They'll say I'll train 4 days a week, and they may plan to train Monday, Tuesday, rest day Wednesday, train Thursday, Friday, take the weekend off, right? Completely respectable training regime. You still get a weekend, life is good. But a lot of people will go to work on a Monday. Mondays are rough for a lot of people. Just come off the back of a weekend, you can't be arsed. So you drag your feet through, you're tired, maybe a little bit stressed out. So it gets to Monday night and you think, well, I am supposed to train tonight. But because I'm tired, I've got an entire week to get 4 sessions in, right? I've got another 6 opportunities. I'm gonna rest today. You've already lost 1 day of your week, right? And a lot of people will say, something came up this week, that's why I couldn't get all my sessions in. It's something I hear with clients, but what I do have to do, what is my job to do, is to call them up on that a little bit. Because if you don't train Monday, you've lost 1 opportunity. You have got 6 more. But what if something does come up that week, whereby one of those now 6 opportunities, you also can't train? Another one. What if you're actually more tired on Friday than you were on Monday? Brain has a clever little way of bullshitting you and making you forget that how you feel today, it's not necessarily going to be much improved the next day. So we procrastinate for a week, we put things off, and it's the same with meal prep. I meal prep every Sunday after content, which is mentally draining, right? I have to deal with Suki for a start, right? If you know Suki, that's mentally draining. Having to deal with Suki's shit is mentally draining. Suki, if you're watching, I love you really. But I am mentally drained on a Sunday. I still meal prep every Sunday night. Why? Because Monday is busier. I have much more important tasks on a Monday, like checking in with the clients. I ain't got time to food prep, or I might do, but it's gonna fuck me up. So establishing routine is huge, really, especially when you are dieting, because once again, you're gonna feel a little bit tired all the time. You're gonna be hungry. So where before, if you miss an opportunity to get shit done, and you can kind of make up for that later in the week, when you're dieting, it's better to just get ahead of your week. Train on the days that you said you were gonna train. Train on the days that are the best fit, right? Whatever your work routine is, whatever your social commitments are, whatever your responsibilities are, place your training sessions in the places within the week that you're most likely to turn up. Same with food prep, if you're gonna food prep, or just organising your food for the week, just be on top of it. Now obviously training is a spectrum. Some people are gonna be able to live or want to live a lifestyle where things are a little bit more optimal, a little bit more exact, shall we say. Other people have a lot more commitments, family, work, they're a lot busier. You may only be able to realistically attend 3 sessions per week instead of 5. Would 5 sessions grow you a little bit faster? If you were able to, yeah. But if you try and get those 5 sessions in and it's completely taken out of you, you're not gonna follow that for very long, you're not gonna get good results. So if you consider training on the spectrum, where you've got overweight alcoholic Dave, doesn't train at all, doesn't give a fuck, fair play to him. And then you've got IFBB bodybuilder, everything is perfectly actioned on, there is no stone unturned, we do not miss a beat. You've got to find for you where realistically you can sit, and through different periods of your life or different periods of the year, you might be in different positions. There might be some times where you do have more flexibility or more free time to yourself, so you can lock in a little bit more. At the end of the day, as long as you are in a position on that spectrum where you are making progress, you're making as much progress as you can make at that time, that's what's important. Because progress being the biggest motivator, as long as you're making progress over the years, that's how you're going to keep showing up. But anyway, so it's very important at the moment that I do stay on top of my time. I do the things on the day that I'm supposed to do them, because if I don't, I'm going to miss them. And especially at this point, this close to the end of a diet, there's no room for error, for me anyway. So we're going to craft an omelette. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen I've been spamming omelettes over my Instagram stories. They're getting a little bit better. When I first started making them, Jesus Christ, it was glorified scrambled egg. It literally looked like I just fucking, I don't know, it was just a mess. They're getting a little bit better, which is going to be funny when I mess this one up and that looks like I'm just bullshitting. So generally my morning routine at the moment is very simple. As much as I do prioritise check-ins will be the very next thing that I get into after preparing this, because they are one of the most important tasks for the day. I did used to be one of these guys that said, you have to do the most important thing first. When you've got the most energy, when you're the most fresh, you don't do the most important task first, or the hardest task first, or the thing that you least want to do, then you're not going to do it after. But that's not strictly true. It's especially not true for me, right? I'm not a morning person. I just never have particularly been one. I do enjoy it when I do it, but I do find, especially now, close to the end of the diet, I wake up in the morning and I just don't have a lot of drive. So I come in and do something simple. My first meal, I'm hungry, I eat that. What this does is it builds just a little bit of momentum. What you see in a minute is I usually go sit outside, get some early morning sun exposure. It's not early morning. I get some sun exposure within the first few hours of waking up. This is where I usually do my replies, I'll do some messages, and I'll just look at my day and figure out remind myself what's going on. You don't necessarily have to start with the hardest thing, as long as you can build momentum and get to the hardest thing later in the day. So if you are a person that prefers slower mornings, like me, if you have the opportunity to, that is, because it will depend on what your work looks like as well. At the end of the day, as long as you are taking the actions required to progress you, and you can do so consistently, and that routine works for you, you don't need to listen to some of the advice out there, which is do the hardest thing first. You have to wake up early. You have to do this and that. It definitely helps. And for a lot of people, it is good advice, but it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. With everything training and coaching, for example, with the coaching, I have trackers in place that basically assess, am I doing everything on a week by week or day by day basis that I need to be doing? And I tick those boxes every week. Not perfectly, especially now. There's some things that I'm missing. I missed a few weeks of YouTube uploads, I missed a few emails, but generally speaking, the most important tasks I am doing. So if you know for yourself you're doing that, it doesn't need to change. Unless, of course, you realise you need to do more, or you need to do things better. That's when you can reassess. But in training, I'm content with how things are going. In coaching, I'm content with how things are going. Clients are progressing nicely. Things are growing little by little. I'm content. Egg whites going in. We're now going to do salt your food. Unless obviously you have medical conditions that say otherwise. Some people are scared of salt. When it comes to your training, hydration, all of that jazz, it's actually very important. I'm using the druggy scales today. Again, coming back to the previous point, most people would not need to be weighing out their salts. I just want to keep things consistent now, so that when it comes to my shoot week, where I'm doing a little photo shoot, the little changes that I make, I know exactly where things have been, so I can adjust accordingly. This is what we call like a peak week. It's basically just a week where you manipulate things a little bit so you look as good as possible. Because what happens in a dieting phase, some of you might have been experiencing this. Oh Jesus, any eggs. As you start dieting, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, you do get depleted. There's less glycogen in your muscle. You wake up in the morning and you're gonna feel skinny. I've been looking at my clothes recently. I feel fucking skinny in them, right? Yes, I'm not the biggest of guys, right? But you are gonna feel skinny as you go through the diet. You're not necessarily losing muscle. A good indicator of this is your strength dropping off? Naturally in a diet, especially towards the end, you are going to lose a little bit of strength in your gym lifts. But as long as you are mostly maintaining strength well, you're probably not losing muscle. Your muscles are just a little deflated, which is normal. Again, the first time that you do this, the first time you diet, you're not going to know that. So it helps to have somebody that is lived that process to tell you, you're going to wake up, you're going to feel skinny, you're going to think you're losing muscle, you're going to feel like you look shit. It's actually, as long as you're training, you're getting your protein in, you're sleeping, which is also equally important. That's why I give myself a lie-in on a Monday. I don't mind working a little bit later, as long as I can get my sleep in. As long as you're doing all of these things generally pretty well, maintaining training intensity, it's a lot harder to lose muscle than you might think. So don't panic. What you can do, if you give yourself enough time, which is another bit of advice, if you're dieting, give yourself enough time. If it's your first diet, maybe something as little as 8 weeks can be beneficial. But more realistically, you're looking generally like 12 weeks. Especially if you're bulked, right? You've spent a lot of months building muscle, but also putting on body fat. You need to give yourself time to get that off. But if you do give yourself enough time, there will be periods where you do start to feel a bit flat, your energy is a little bit down. Take a few weeks back, for example. I got ill. The illness wasn't really shifting. I knew that everything else was in place. So over a weekend, I gave myself a little bit more food. I gave myself some flexibility. I took a couple rest days, I gave my body some rest and some more food. Because this illness, I wasn't shifting. I'm a guy that usually I have like one rough day. The next day, it'll still be in the background, but after that one rough day, I'm back to business. This time, it wasn't the case. I was ill for like 3 or 4 days, I was getting fever on the evenings. That was a time, through experience, I knew that I needed to give my body a little bit more. So I put some more food back in, rested over the weekend, Monday, right back to business. What I'm saying is if you give yourself enough dieting time, you can have what we call high days, where you give yourself some more food, put some carbs back in. This is going to fill you out, freshen you up. And yes, your weight loss might plateau. You might even go up 1 pound or 2, or 3 if you're particularly adventurous. But guess what? Because you've freshened up, you might have bought yourself a lot more time in the end. Your training is going to improve off the back of that momentarily. You're going to feel fresher. This is going to allow you to then continue the diet for probably longer than you would have done. If you think of dieting as like stress, every now and again you can take that stress away, freshen yourself up, and then you go again, right? It's like rest times between sets, it's all the same. Omelette is pretty much done. We're going to go for the fold in a moment. I think we're ready to. Bearing in mind, I didn't actually watch any videos on how to make an omelette, so I could be absolutely fucking butchering this process. If there are any chefs watching, or anyone that is an omelette, oh Jesus, what is that? If anyone is an omelette enthusiast, I do apologise. I am a coach. I'm also a waiter, right? I wait tables. This is not my area of expertise. And we're gonna just give this a little flip. Not too shabby, acceptable. Turn the heat off. Fucking Bob's your uncle. What we also have in this morning meal is a bagel, or should I say half a bagel. Times are looking pretty fucking bleak, eh? Can't even have the whole thing. Nice. So we have half a bagel, and we also have 100 grams of raspberries. Oh, but fruit makes you fat. You're gonna eat fruit because fruit has sugar in it, and sugar's bad for you. Being adults, fruit may have fructose or sugar in it, but per volume of food, it's not very calorie dense. It's just not. Not quite as good as veggies, which you also should be including, obviously. Fruit is not gonna make you fat. Not only is it not gonna make you fat, it's bloody good for you. When you're dieting, you already have less food coming in, right? You can obviously supplement with some vitamins, minerals, all of that jazz. Oh, I fucked up. The omelette was looking good, but now what's happened is the end has folded in on itself. Ah, it's just diet brain. Oh, silly me, diet brain. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm gonna quickly throw 100 gram of the older raspberries into the pan. Yeah, 100 gram of raspberries with breakfast. 138, a little bit more. Perfect. I'm just gonna cook off these frozen raspberries. Also, fruit and veg. If you wanna save money, if you wanna make sure you don't waste any, buy it frozen. I actually remember seeing a thing that supposedly frozen fruit and veg also retains more of its nutrition. So essentially just all round wins for frozen fruit and veg. You gotta heat it up obviously. But veggies you're probably cooking into a meal anyway. And the fruit, I literally chuck the raspberries on the pan for a minute. Beautiful. Another little tidbit with food is when it comes to how you organise that and how you obviously choose the meals that you're having, I kind of will split food into 2 different groups, which can be thrown together fairly quickly. This meal, like an omelette, doesn't take long, 10 minutes. And the food that takes a little bit longer that you've got to spend a little bit more time cooking. The food that needs a little bit more preparation, that's the stuff that I will meal prep, I'll make in advance. The other stuff, the omelette and the cream of rice dish at the end of the night, this stuff doesn't take long to put together, so I'll just do that on the day. You can split your meals into 2. Can you throw it together in a little bit of time, or does it take more time? Do you need to prep it? Obviously, if you're someone who's very busy, you can obviously choose all meals that you need to throw together, right? There's no right or wrong, provided it is in accordance with what your goals are, and it has the right macros for what you need. Cool, so just freshened up those raspberries. I'm not gonna cook them too much because they just end up breaking down. Almost going into like a, would you call it a compote? A jam, maybe? I don't know. All right, let's go eat, motherfuckers. So we have 250 gram of egg white, 2 whole eggs, mushroom, tomato, spinach, a handful of each, half a bagel, depressing, raspberries, 100 gram, and a little drizzle of Frank's Buffalo hot sauce. Game changer in the diet, right? Telling you now. So yeah, this is what I usually do. I'll cook that meal. I'll come out here, chill while I eat. I usually do some reply to some messages. It's actually a really nice day today, and what I should be doing is sat out here with my top off, soaking in some vitamin D, and I'm still getting some. For some stupid reason I've decided that I am going to not show the physique for the last so many weeks of the diet. Why am I doing that? I had a few people ask how the diet's going, how are things looking, and obviously some people I've shown. But in terms of like posting social media, I didn't like the fact that part of my motivation for going to a session was getting a pump, taking my top off at the end, and like posting my physique to my story. I am one of these people, I do try to be humble, generally, but it's not just that. As I work with clients is trying to be, go away wasp, don't start today. Try to be driven by the process as much as you can. And obviously it's very difficult when it's all new to you. You've never done it before, you're kind of in this position, you're a little bit confused, is it not working? But if your win for the day is just following the process perfectly, the progress or the result comes as a byproduct, which is good. Because again, you've got to trust the process. And in those weeks where you're starting to get hungry, you're starting to look flat, you're wondering why you ever decided you want to be lean in the first place, it can help to try and find some degree of enjoyment or motivation from the process. And that's the thing, right? I actually enjoy every meal that I eat right now, believe it or not. Part of that is the fact that I haven't eaten junk food for a while, and you do find that after you cut it out, you do start craving it less. That is true. But I do actually have foods that I do generally enjoy, and I start to enjoy them more. Especially once you're hungry, all food tastes good. Which is why I don't actually know if I'm good at cooking or not. At least right now, because everything tastes good. Shit on a slice of bread, put another slice of bread on top of it, I'd be like, right, it's not bad. But this goes the same for like, if you're in a bulk, right? As you get deeper into a bulk, this is something else that if you haven't done it, you won't understand. Or if it's your first time doing it. There'll be weeks where you start to look less lean, where your strength isn't increasing as quickly as it was in the beginning, back at the start of the growing phase, and it gets a bit monotonous. I would actually say that deep into a bulk is harder than at the end of a diet. At least now, yes, I look deflated, but pretty much every single week, things are looking better and better. Which is again why progress is just so important to me. Not only because that's obviously the whole point, at least initially. Again, with time, you'll be driven by the process and the enjoyment of that, and the other bonuses that come from getting into good shape. But because progress will motivate you. If you're in a position where you're trying to build muscle, trying to lose body fat, you are working hard, but if your thinking is a little bit wrong, or your plan isn't in the right place, and you're not seeing progress, it's a damn shame, because this is when I see a lot of people quit. But it's not a matter of quitting, it's a matter of just assessing honestly, where am I going wrong? Where do I need to improve? What is the thing that I'm missing? And it can be very hard to determine that sometimes. Which is why I do just say, even if it's for 3 months, even if it's for a short term, just get a coach. It even helps me to this day because I'll overthink things a lot. Ooh, can I go a little bit harder? If I go a little bit harder, am I going to lose muscle? Is this right? Is that right? It really can help when it's yourself to just offset that to somebody else. Because they're not as emotionally attached to a result as you are. They will be to an extent. At least that's my style. Like, I do genuinely care about my clients. I care about my clients' results. But they're not in there living it with you. They're not with you 24/7. So they can make rational, objective judgments on what needs to be better, what needs to change. It's just funny, like, you want to learn to drive, right? You go get a driving instructor. There's something wrong with your car. You might try and figure it out yourself. Usually you get a mechanic. You've got a health issue. Again, you could try and muddle around in the dark to fix it yourself, but things can go wrong. You want to learn guitar, you get a guitar teacher. When it comes to the physical body, which is one of the most important things, so many people are averse to getting a coach. Now, I understand why, because I think most people in the industry today are charlatans. They charge too much. They're not actually good at the job. They've never got anyone in shape. They're not even in shape themselves. So obviously you wouldn't trust these people. And it's Instagram, they're too salesy, they're spamming your inbox, they're messaging you every day. Maybe not all day, every day. I mean, the best one I ever had was where I replied to this guy not realising it was like a business mentor. I replied to him not realising what the situation was, and he just kept messaging and messaging. And it's like a girls on Instagram will get that weird guy in the DMs that just doesn't stop. Baby Reindeer, you ever watch Baby Reindeer? And these guys will be like, you won't reply for a few days, and they'll be like, "Are you still there, mate? Am I being ghosted?" What the fuck? You're not in shape, Rev. You've got no results to speak of. Leave me alone, basically. So yeah, there is a lot of charlatans out there right now. Even on the money front, I've had loads of people before tell me, like, "Oh, maybe now it's time to increase the price. Maybe it's time to increase the price." I'm doing all right. Plus, I want it to be accessible. I want people where bodybuilding's not our life. That will come later. Once I've bodybuilded, then I'll think about taking on bodybuilding clients. But I want people who just want to get into better shape. I want it to be accessible. Most people do not have north of £200 a month to pay for coaching. Those people just simply don't have north of £200 a month to pay for it. But they might have, right? But it's just not that much of a priority. That way I get to help more people. It's more accessible. I've still got a client that's paying me £80 a month. Shout out if you're watching, by the way. I'm not going to increase his price. He's been with me for a long time. He was there at the beginning. Still gets the same level of service, right? But why does he get to charge less? Because he was there at the beginning. He's been with me for years. I look after those people. Pay it back. Anyway, that is meal one done and dusted. I do believe it's time to get into client check-ins. Let's go. I'm getting in the zone. I'm getting in the zone. This is where the autism comes out a little bit. But it's good, right? The way I treat my check-ins is it's like a catch-up with an old friend, right? Again, like what I see with some coaches is they get like stemmed out the brain, it's too rushed. The way I deal with things with my clients is it's like we really get to know each other. We really build this relationship where we come to a check-in every week and it's like a catch-up, it's a sit-down. How are things going, mate? How are you? You need to increase all this data-driven, right? If you're purely data-driven as a coach, you need to be data-driven because that's how you get results, right? That's the bread and butter. But if you're purely data-driven, if you're not listening to them, not having a conversation, not communicating, you're not going to help them with what matters the most, which is this behavioural change, digging into the reasons why they're not taking action right now, why they ended up in the place that they are. Again, if I was coaching bodybuilders, it can be a little bit more like that. And I'll say a little bit more because I would imagine you're still going to be a fucking human. We're dealing with humans here, right? This is why ChatGPT will never steal my job. I do wish it would learn how to make wasps fuck off. To be fair, once the food's gone, I'm chill with them. I'm like one with nature. Just don't get on my food. I don't know what you've got. Diseases. Wasp gonorrhea. Get out. So that is check-ins done and dusted. I always get fired up after doing check-ins, right? It's when I see, because obviously you get a coach, right? And a coach's job is to get a result from you and obviously make that process a lot easier, right? But the thing that I find is equally in the way that I am there to motivate, inspire, and guide these people through this process, it's when I do have clients that, like, some of them have so many reasons to not get a result, right? Everyone in its general population is like, "Oh, I'm too busy to go into the gym, I'm too busy to that, I'm too tired, my life is too busy." And then it's just so inspiring to see people in the team, like, yes, I'm helping them, but also they're not feeling sorry for themselves, they're getting up, they're taking action. Because some of the guys in the team, especially recently, been having really tough times, right? Without going into details, but it's stuff that most people would not be showing up for themselves, because most people, what happens is they go through a tough period, they revert back to these old bad habits, they revert back to the copes, they're eating shit food, the takeaways, the alcohol, they're going out the weekends, whatever it is, they revert back into those bad habits. But with a little bit of help from me, but they're the ones doing the graft, right? It does fire me up as well when I see people in the team getting after it, getting results. As much as I'm there to inspire and motivate them, they genuinely motivate and inspire me, and it is good. Even those clients that are, obviously everyone's moving in the right direction, I can genuinely say that, and it's not often throughout my coaching process that I've been able to say that, but there's not been one check-in this week where there isn't some wins to take away, which is amazing. It's really good to hear, because it's not always like that, right? And that's what I'm here for. I'm there to help navigate through it. But even those guys that are having those challenging times now, that's what's rewarding, is people that have every excuse, they've got every reason to struggle through, right? And this is where most people would quit, but they're still checking in, they're still communicating with you, they're still taking action. This is the biggest thing about getting a coach. Is not going to immediately solve your problems. If you're coachable, you communicate and you work with that person, it's as close to a guarantee as it gets, right? Because you get the plan, you get that support through it. But I just wanted to jump on and say that but they equally inspire me as it is my job to do that as well. And I do it's like problem solving, right? When I was younger, I was really into, I was like a STEM kid, right? So I was really good at STEM stuff, right? Science, maths, which is so strange. I was doing a maths degree, so it's so strange that now I've found myself in this career. Because, and initially it's like, well, fitness, maths, there's no correlation. Of course it is. It's problem solving every single day. Problem solving within the nitty gritty details, right? How do we need to adapt your nutrition? How do we adapt to your training? It's all maths, it's all patterns, it's pattern recognition. And then even down to the behavioural change, you've got this individual that has a goal over here. The journey to that is not one size fits all. It's different for everyone. We're actively problem solving every single week to see how we can get to this end result. It's hard, and obviously they're not always perfect and they're not always taking action, but understanding that they're human, they're going to struggle with these things, and taking that time to work with them and help them navigate that through. I just love it. I love it, and I love that problem solving thing. It's class. It's class. And ever since being coached and getting a coach, it really was such a big thing for me in getting better as a coach as well. Having been on both sides of that journey, being coached, getting a result, having this admiration, this pride, making somebody else proud, and then vice versa as well. I fucking love it. Anyway, Amazon, thanks Amazon. Shit. Let's do a live, what are these called? Unboxing. We've got an Amazon parcel. What's in the Amazon parcel? It's nothing exciting. Weekly supplement stack, right? Because I was getting a little bit bored. Supplement stack, supplement box. So I was getting bored of every single week opening every bottle, putting all my pills in, right? Pills. They're supplements, not pills, right? It's not steroids, it's not pills. I used to do pills, it's not pills now. Beautiful, but they're not big enough. This might be a bit of an L, boys. So I got the supplement thing, but I also wanted little containers to hold my creatine. It might be big enough. Is it big? Is that going to be big enough? I need to fit 6 grams of creatine in there. Might be doable. We'll have a go. Anyway, purpose of these, again, organisation, just to make my week a little bit easier. Remove some resistance from ticking the boxes. Supplements that I take every single day. I sit down in the night, I'm opening all the bottles. I can do that all in one go. I can make my week more efficient. So you basically constantly want to be looking at ways to make ticking those boxes a little bit easier. So that's another thing for the dieting process. If you're not organised, if you're not on top of things, if you don't have the system in place that allows you to tick those boxes easily, you're fighting an uphill battle, which can help if you have someone that shows you how to do that. So if you take supplements, grab one of these. It makes it easier. You're more likely to hit it every single time. Anyway, check-ins are done. We're going to go and eat another meal. Then we're going to have, I suppose, just a little, probably watch some YouTube while I eat another meal. Probably eat some YouTube and then eat some YouTube. Oh my God. We're going to eat some YouTube and then we're going to think about going to train. Help me, please. Carbohydrates, please. So here we are in the Church of Iron, Iron Sanctuary, the place of gains. Get ready to go into the session. So we've just got here. I cycle to and from basically everywhere now, to be fair, which is really helping on the cardio activity output. It means I get a few more calories. My cardio is taken care of. So what I do like to do is before every session is just take a little minute in here to get my energy back. I know obviously most of the time like people that walk into the gym or drive into the gym, you don't necessarily need that, but it's just a minute in here to sort of stop, take in what I do. Obviously keeping my logbook is just write out last week's lift numbers. Obviously this deep into a diet, the only priority really is to try and maintain those numbers. I'm not expecting to add anything to it particularly. But I write my list from last week, that's what I'm aiming for, and take a little look at those, get ready before the session and just sort of chill for a second, right? Then headphones go in and we just get into it, we get started. Pre-workout today, I don't always take pre-workout, but today, so pre going in. And just like that, we are back from training. So I would say generally successful session today. Strength is definitely right at the end. We lost a few reps across, generally only one rep. We lost one rep on a few sets of the week. It's getting to the point now where I'm accepting that strength is going to start dropping. It's the last proper week of normal standard sessions. So, and then next week, we're going to begin the week just with a little bit of lighter intensity, minimal volume stuff just to keep and hold things. And on Thursday is going to be the shoot. So exciting times. I have realised why I've enjoyed training after work most days now, because I got back and today I just crashed. I don't know where that came from. Obviously this morning was quite intensive with check-ins. And I did have a catch-up call with one of the clients as well. So it has been quite a busy morning, I suppose. And yesterday was a busy one. So 10 days out, the rest of the week is going to be, we've got work. No, we've not got work tomorrow. I'm going to the footy tomorrow. So I'm going to an away game. But obviously I've got work in the morning, football match on the evening. It's a social, but I'm going to stay disciplined. I'm going to treat myself to a Pepsi Max or maybe even two. Really pushing the boat out. I'm going to take one of my meals with me and have the rest when I come home. I'm going to train after that. I'm going to train Wednesday night after work. I've got a 5 close. And then I would be training, I don't need to train Thursday because I will train legs on Wednesday. So then my next session will be Saturday night. I'm actually going to train with a client who's also at the end of their dieting phase now. So that will be really sick. We've organised that today. I've actually got to go and put their plan together. for how we're going to peak them for that after I've eaten this, as well as the editing for the week. We're going to try and box most of that off for the rest of the evening until I reach a point where I think, right, probably about midnight, we'll probably stop, chill for an hour, and then get ourselves to bed. So that's the rest of my week. Friday will be the day off for chill. Sunday will be content day again. And next week, I've actually booked off time off work, right? Bearing in mind, this is off my real job, right? Coaching business is going to be exactly the same for the whole week, but I have booked a few days off to finish it. Monday, Tuesday, light full body sessions, get the volume in. Then from Tuesday, we're going to begin carbon up slowly and getting ready for the shoot, which will be next Thursday. So 9-10 days away, whatever it is. So exciting times. I'm going to eat this meal. This is beef mince, rice, vegetables. So that is meal number 4 for today. Usually this would be meal number 3, but because we've trained earlier today, it's different. But so I'm going to eat this, get into the last little work block for the day, as coaches call it, and then we're going to be getting to bed.